welcome to Madness Works. Today we got a little project that we're going to do with some epoxy, and we're going to be making a little something like a fake makeshift river epoxy type of project. And I'm just going to walk you through the epoxy project. I have the piece of wood already cut out, so we're just going to pour the epoxy, and I'm just going to show you my setup. I see a lot of people asking about how to do a proper setup, so I'm going to show you my setup that works for me and protects all our furniture so my wife doesn't get a little upset with me, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have a proper setup, make sure you get one. Welcome to Madness Works, where dreams take form in the depths of this workshop. Alright, so here's my little setup. So I'm working on a table. I got a little epoxy mat right here to protect the table. I got a little plastic tray right here that has a cover right there. Boom. Locks on top of it, keeps the dust out. I'm going to be using some alcohol, 99% alcohol, to clean off my mat in here. So what I got in here is, if you look down here, I got a little piece of a little wood plank. I have it cut in here to fit perfectly, so it provides a level surface. And I got another epoxy mat in here, and I'm just going to show you guys a little tip that I like to use to try to, within a project like this, keep the epoxy from flowing out, and you don't have to use any tape or anything. Big thing is, make sure you get to the center of the piece and you check it for level. If it's not level, make sure you make it level. And right now, it's looking a little unlevel. There we go. So again, you always want to make sure that you're running a fairly level project so your epoxy pours level. All right, these right here, these are just silicone mixing sticks. And what I'm gonna do is, when I make my pour, I'm gonna put these right on top. And to keep the wood from floating up, the epoxy making the wood float up, I'm just gonna put this on top to add some weight. That way it won't stick to it. Like I told you guys in past videos, these little all-purpose cups, I call them bathroom cups. I like using these for my epoxy. All right, I'm gonna be mixing part A with part B. So you just pour it on in. Typically, I use my popsicle sticks for this, for cleaning out the cup. But today, I'm gonna use this little, I'm not really sure totally what it's called, crocheting needle. But this is, I've been using this for years, and it's easy to clean off afterwards while it's still tacky. Just use some rubbing alcohol and a rag, even a napkin, and it'll rub right off. All right, here's my electric stirrer that I like to use. I don't get worried about bubbles. I usually don't have a horrible issue with bubbles. I've only had an issue once with bubbles, and that's when it was really cold outside. And I do have that video if anybody ever wants to take a look at it. What we're gonna do is, I lay down my epoxy sticks. I want to make sure that they'll be wide enough to hold my weight. All right, let's see how we did. I'm just gonna hold the project down and pour right inside of it. Put the weight on it for a moment, and I'm gonna go grab my heat gun. All right, got that heat gun. See all that white, all the bubbles? And it's gonna start disappearing. I just realized I did a dumb mistake, and I didn't seal my wood before I poured it, so I can already see it on the edges. Well, we'll see how it comes out. Yeah, not sealing those edges is gonna kill it because those bubbles are just gonna keep coming. I just got so excited about making this project that I forgot to seal it. I'm such a doofus. I'm just so mad right now. I feel like I ruined it already, but we'll see. Well, now, I don't claim to be an expert on any level, but what I am here for is to share my experiences and my knowledge so that you guys can be more prepared. And boy, did I have some new findings, I'll tell you that. Check this out. What do we have here? It's a mess. So, remember, I didn't get to clear coat this, right? So we got some good news and bad news. The bad news is I mixed up too much epoxy and poured too much at once, and it flash cured. I came out to remove bubbles within the first 10 minutes, and I had these white bubbles on top, and I was like, what in the world? And I used this to push it over, and it was already hardened. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I pulled these out. The good news, it gave us a bottom. So it cured, we have a bottom. And I was able to go back and clear coat the inside. So now I can try to prevent any excess air bubbles when I pour my next layer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix a little bit, pour a thin layer, and keep building the layers till I get to the top. Don't worry, I'm not gonna put you guys through that hassle. Once I get to the top, then the video will resume. All right, so it's been about a week since I started this project. Definitely should have had plenty of time to dry and harden all throughout. And here's what we're looking at. So we're gonna clean it up a little bit in the garage and cut it down and cut it to size before we assemble it together. So following this, we're gonna be doing that. Here I am on my joiner, trying to go ahead and flatten the face of the wood and the epoxy, but on one of the pieces it didn't go that well. So I'm back on my bandsaw, going ahead trying to cut off the uneven surface. I was having trouble trying to flatten the pieces on one of them, and so I decided to throw it on my jig and throw it through the planer. And this was the outcome. My planer yeeted that epoxy portion across my shop. It was kind of funny, a little bit dangerous though. Good thing I wasn't behind the planer. Since the pieces broke and they were super thin, I decided to just start all over. After I started over, the pieces actually came out the thickness that I wanted. And as you can see from this picture, I was able to save the old portions. They are a little bit thin, but I was able to save them. So I did some sanding up to 240 grit, got all the epoxy off the wood, and got it ready for clear coat. Here's when I was in the clear coat process. As you can see, I was using shellac. When I sprayed on the shellac, I was actually really nervous because the epoxy was looking really cloudy. But after just letting it dry, it came out actually really clear. And finally here are both pieces, all assembled, clear coat dry, and some napkins inside the napkin holders. The skinny one came out way too skinny in between, so it can't really hold that many napkins. But that was a lost cause version of this project. So this project wasn't entirely too difficult. It was actually a really good learning process. I just wanted to prove a theory that I had where you could cut a makeshift river epoxy design into a piece of wood and just use a silicone mat to contain the epoxy and get a good pour from it. And I was actually really happy with the results. I understand it's not a true river style project like this table that the project is on, but hey, for people that are looking to save money and make things a little bit easier without having the tools or the money to do a true epoxy river style project, I think this easily met that requirement. And you can do it with any type of wood you want. So I'm calling this one a win. And most importantly, the wife is really happy with the results. So can't argue with that. The only real place where madness works is true.